Something's happening to me.
When I lose control, bad things happen. But it feels good.
Hey there, Anthonics. I'm not Anthonics in this video. Yeah. Hey there, how's it going? So, this is the spoiler version of Dark Phoenix. If you have not seen the movie and you really plan to see the movie, I have the non-spoiler. It's in the link below. So as the movie opens up with Jean Grey in a car accident with her parents just because her telepathy was getting out of hand and controlling the radio and bickering with the parents and of course, tragedy happens as parents die in a car accident. In a lot of these comic book films, there are a lot of car accidents, aren't there? I did appreciate the fact that this movie did call out Xavier for kind of being a bastard. He actually has a X phone direct to the president, just like, you know, Adam West Batman having a phone to the commissioner. And now the president calls them up to have them go on missions. And the movie does start out with them going out to a space mission. I kind of liked the idea that they're actually exploring that to explain the Phoenix Force going into Jean Grey eventually. What I don't understand, though, is in X-Men Apocalypse, she defeats Apocalypse with the Phoenix Force, or with her Phoenix powers. These movies have no continuity, so much so that the director of the film, Simon Kinberg, who actually has been writing most of these X-Men films, still doesn't even understand what he's done. It's his first directing movie and it shows. Directing's not too bad, but the story structure is. This film does not include Jubilee, which is a huge sin, very huge sin. I feel bad for her. Poor Jubilee, she gets screwed over in every incarnation of X-Men. Alright, there's the cartoon, whatever, cartoon be cartoons, but I'm talking about live action stuff. Generation X, she was one of the main characters, yes, but she was played by the wrong actress. Someone who didn't really understand Jubilee or just really overemphasized the edginess of her, whatever that means, being, the 90s. You got the 2000 X-Men film where Jubilee is just a cameo in the background. X2, she's one of the students that gets captured. She had a scene where her powers were starting to go off, but is stifled right away, and that scene got cut, so it's no longer part of the cinematic world. X-Men The Last Stand, I don't even think she was in the film at all. I don't even think, not even as a background. I could be wrong, but without the yellow jacket, I can't tell. And they finally had the chance to bring Jubilee back into the franchise, which they did by introducing her in X-Men Apocalypse. And for what? Just so she can go to the mall with the main X-Men characters? And cut out most of the mall scenes where her powers are being used again, and they cut her out of the film, and then she's abandoned in the rest of the movie. I'm sorry, that was a whole long rant. I did not mean to go on, but for a movie of the Dark Phoenix to have very little cast, like not enough X-Men characters, they could have squeezed Jubilee in, like even as an apology for not giving her enough screen time. I don't have a problem with the X-Men actors in this film. I love McAvoy. I love Fassbender. I enjoy all the X-Men actors except for Jennifer Lawrence. She's been great in many things, but Jennifer Lawrence in these X-Men films really just piss me off. She doesn't understand Mystique very well. Or maybe she does and it's the writer's fault, but I'm gonna put hand to hand on this one. Because the problem with this is that, alright, in First Class, first time Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique, she approached her character as a bratty little sister type. And even in interviews, Jennifer Lawrence had said she knew nothing about Mystique until halfway through production. And that's why she purposely played her as a little brat. I get it, some actors don't like to read the comics and try to approach characters as their own way, but there's gotta be a lot said for proper research. Now, I did like her fine in Days of Future Past because she was actually on her own mission. She tried to assassinate Trask. That is very Mystique-like. She will either join a team, but at the same time have alternative motives. And in the end, she ends up being the one to defeat Magneto. Then we cut back to X-Men Apocalypse, and now she's a hero? I don't get it. I mean, we see on screen that she was trying to attack Trask and also Nixon, and with everything that happened in that final scene, people treated her like she's a hero, even though she was there to be the opposite. And in this film, she's a whole different type of makeup, and I get it. It's because Jennifer Lawrence has an allergic reaction to the makeup. Okay, fine, she has an allergic reaction. It's a real shame that Hollywood has not done anything about the makeup yet, because we've been having problems since like Wizard of Oz, when Buddy Epstein got sick from Tin Man's makeup and they had to replace him with Jack Baer. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's Jack Baer. But then again, Wizard of Oz is the same people that used asbestos for snow, so... But yeah, that's why in most of these X-Men films, when she transforms into Jennifer Lawrence. And it sucks too, because Rebecca Romaine Stamos, she sat through every single day, 8 hours, to apply all that body makeup to her. And when she as Mystique transformed or shapeshifted into characters, they were other actors. They were not Rebecca Romaine, except for like in X2, but that was very brief, and that was actually more of a wink. But with Jennifer Lawrence, though, every time she wanted to disguise herself, she always would end up looking like Jennifer Lawrence. And in A Dark Phoenix, when she's at home, she is disguising herself as Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, that is the one place she should feel the most comfortable to wear her true self, her blue skin self. And she's a hypocrite too, because at the end of First Class, Hank McCoy becomes full-on transition to Beast, and I'll get to that in a second. And she finally learns to show her true self with the help of Magneto to become Mystique, the full blue, or even Darkhold. And what does she say to Hank at the end of the film? Mutant pride. Okay, yeah, you can't really act so prideful of being a mutant if you're just gonna disguise yourself as Jennifer Lawrence in every film. Even the movie posters have her as Jennifer Lawrence instead of her as Mystique. How bad of star power does Hollywood need that they have to show the actors' real faces instead of their character faces? Trust me, we know the actors are there. You don't have to try to convince us otherwise. Now, Nicholas Hoult, I like him as Beast. I really do. But again, he's another pretty face with star power. So the directors try to show him as more often as he can in his regular skin. Dark Phoenix has him transforming from Hank to Beast at will. No, that's not how it happens in the comics. Yeah, I really did say that. I really did say out loud that's not how it happens in the comics. But Beast's tragic story, and it was explored, by the way, in the previous movies, is that in First Class, he was freaking out because his feet were beast-like, mutant-like. So he tried to cure himself. And with the formula, it actually made it worse, where he became full-on Beast. And it looked like he was to stay that way. In Days of Future Past, Nicholas Hoult was Hank, and that's because he was still taking a serum. Apparently he found a way to fix that. But at the end, he decided to become full-on Beast. In Apocalypse, I'm trying to remember how that worked out. I really think in Apocalypse he was actually Beast the whole time. Go ahead and correct me wrong. My memory's a little foggy. But in this film, apparently between the films, he found a way to go back and forth. Just stay Beast. Kelsey Grammer can stay Beast the whole entire time, so can you. These young actors are a bunch of whiners. You guys make a lot of money. I don't know how much, but I'm pretty sure you make more than me. And if the studios were to offer me, half of what you made, I would keep my mouth shut and just allow the body paint. Sorry about the background noise. It is kind of the end of office hours, so they're doing some cleaning and stuff. Now let's talk about the villains of the film. All right, so this is a team of aliens that are after the Phoenix Force. And I'm sure there is a name, but basically they're the Skrulls. I think they were actually meant to be the Skrulls, but because Marvel, the MCU, was using Skrulls, they couldn't do that. The leader, played by Jessica Chastain, is Vuk, or Vuk. That's V-U-K. And you know what? I actually forgive Dark Phoenix as a film if it weren't for the villains. The villains are bland. They're boring. I really thought Jessica Chastain was going to be Lilandra, someone from the Shi'ar Empire. I thought the movie was going to involve the Shi'ar Empire. This is what they've all been implying in all the interviews. But once again, Fox lies to us. Look, you know what? Either involve space and galactic battles with Dark Phoenix or don't. But don't give us just some small remaining group of aliens trying to take over the world. But in all fairness, though, they did use a specific kind of alien race, where in the original comic book, this race died from the Phoenix because the Phoenix destroyed their sun, leaving their planet to be destroyed. So in the film, it just is implied that they're a dying race and they needed the Phoenix Force to rebuild. And of course, they got to use Earth to rebuild. Not a bad plan either, not a bad plot, but again, they don't even look like aliens. You see them as aliens for a minute, but then they're all in human form. So in a final battle, when you see the X-Men fighting them, it just looks like superheroes beating up civilians. Now the X-Men wearing their yellow and dark blue outfits could have been the awesome outfits from End of Apocalypse, but no. We had to go with the early 2000s version, didn't we? And if you're picking up on the thuddering sound now, that's them doing construction upstairs. I mean, yay, they're not doing it during work hours and I don't have to film here, but at the same time, why does it always happen when I'm filming? Yeah. And then you have Magneto, and well, he's no longer Magneto. He's actually just being Eric, and he's living out in the middle of nowhere with his own farm. And the farm is supposed to be Genosha, by the way. Not the capture mutants and make them slaves type of Genosha. It's the Genosha that Magneto ended up ruling to make like a private home for mutants, like a safe haven. But it doesn't even look as awesome as it does in a comics or in a cartoon. It's just a farm. And Magneto has many people working on a farm, but when it comes to him actually fighting and things, he just has 2 random mutants. The conflict with Xavier being second guest now is actually pretty cool. And Mystique dies in the film, and that's why Magneto wants to work with Beast so they can kill Jean Grey. And I was kind of hoping it would be more of that. I could have understood if the film was kind of like a Civil War-esque type of thing where Xavier and his X-Men would have to stop Magneto, and some of the X-Men that want to stop Jean, you know, it's one side protecting Jean, the other side trying to destroy her. That would have been a compelling movie. But their whole fight in New York City, which is really just next to Central Park, it was okay, but it wasn't shot that well. It was very dark, and the only thing cool about it is seeing Magneto use his powers, which, by the way, another lazy thing, Michael Fassbender doesn't even go full Magneto. He just puts on the helmet and calls it a day. I swear, it's like the actors wanted to wear as little of their costumes as they could. I'm also mad at this film for taking out Quicksilver right away. Actually, very mad about that. Phoenix puts him out of the commission for majority of the film. And I'm mad about it because this would have been the time, a film where we could have explored Quicksilver reuniting with Magneto, because Magneto is Quicksilver's father. Everything led up to it in the previous films. He held back from telling Magneto that they're related because reasons. And I thought this would be the film where this is better explored. But no. However, it was kind of explained to me recently that by my friend that the X-Men comics are trying to redo that, where Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are no longer Magneto's children, that they're actually more of the MCU explanation with their experiments. And that ruins everything for me, because Magneto is a huge, powerful villain, a mutant that actually can do the most damage. But his only foil was having his kids that would every now and then betray him. So what's left? There is no inner conflict for Magneto anymore. Anyways, yes, Mystique dies when she's trying to stop Jean, because Jean is upset that her father no longer wants to be in her life. So yeah, let's take it out on everyone else except for the one person trying to hurt her, right? And we all knew that Mystique was gonna die because the trailers made the huge implication. And I'm okay with her dying because, again, I don't like Jennifer Lawrence in these films. The final fight, though, was them going on the train where they're going to be locked, where the mutants have been captured, not by Stryker, which is fine because, you know, you can't really have Colonel Stryker in a film without Wolverine. And this is the first X-Men film, or X-Men property film, without Wolverine. So kudos to them for that. You don't have to be reliant on one mutant, right? But yeah, they're about, the X-Men and Magneto, they're about to be taken away and, you know, locked up wherever, and they're on a train. The final conflict is the mutants trying to protect the jerk guards from aliens in their human form. Again, it looks really bad. They know with Jean captured, the alien race is trying to go after her, and so the X-Men find themselves protecting Jean and the soldiers that captured him. And this whole battle is actually the final battle. If it was any other X-Men film, a battle of that size would just be in the center of the film. So when the movie ended, I was really surprised. Jean Grey, of course, you know, rising up to take on Jessica Chastain, who at this point has some of her Phoenix Force. Could have been a nice battle right there too, but no. Jean Grey pulled the Hulk move from the first Hulk film. Remember where Hulk was having its powers being taken and then he finally just shouts, "Take it all"? That's basically what Jean Grey did to Volk, or Buck. And it's such a cheap, lazy cop-out ending. Now, I will say in a train fight, it was cool to see Magneto use all the machine guns to shoot at the aliens and shoot at Jessica Chastain. And he used every metal that he could, and it was almost unstoppable for them. And it really just took the Phoenix to kill everyone herself. But originally, the ending was supposed to be of them fighting in outer space. It was supposed to be a huge galactic battle. And they actually reshot the film to give us this cheap train battle. And they did it because Avengers Endgame happened and they didn't want to copy that. But you know what? Copy it. It's the X-Men. These are mutants and they deal with aliens from time to time. There are galactic battles. You should have just gone for it. Some haters would have complained that you copied, but oh well. I'd rather have them complain. I'd rather be complaining that you copied rather than complaining that you didn't do enough. The ending also was kind of a cheap knockoff too, considering that it's Professor X that decides to get away from it all. Go the Dark Knight Rises route where he goes traveling and he finds himself in Paris playing chess with Magneto because they did that before. That's a thing now. Jean Grey, yeah, she dies and now she's full on Phoenix floating around. That could have been open to a sequel, but at the same time, it could just be a good ending too. Oh, I would have forgotten. Nightcrawler on the train. Let me just go over each X-Men. Ty Sheridan as Cyclops was fine. I actually did not mind him because Cyclops is Cyclops. If they didn't do a story where Cyclops turns on Xavier, and this probably would have been the film to do it, but they went with a regular obedient Cyclops. Alexandra Shipp as Storm, I liked the accent. I did not like that they turned her into Iceman. I get it, she can make ice because, you know, you take the moisture from the air and you put it together, but not even that quick of a time though. She's still pretty natural with the weather for the most part. So I feel like they just needed an Iceman, but they had Storm, so they went with her. The actor playing Nightcrawler is a good Nightcrawler, but he's just a plain emo kid at the same time. So he had the look and agility for the most part of Nightcrawler, but at the end, he kind of starts getting a little savage after seeing a soldier die. And his savageness is straight up murder. He stabs his enemies in the neck with his tail. And you see the anger in his face. And this is another reason why I think it could have led to another sequel, because I think they had meant to explore more on this, because after he just snapped and went ballistic and went on a murdering spree, I think that would have been a perfect time for him to turn to God and suddenly become the religious Nightcrawler that we know. But then again, this is the same X-Men universe where we don't acknowledge Nightcrawler being the son of Mystique because they're about the same age. So, whatever the hell you want to do, Fox. I'm glad now the MCU owns X-Men, and it's going to be years before they're going to touch the X-Men, but that's fine. We need a break. We really do. A long enough break so we can just kind of regroup and retool what we want to do with the X-Men. There was, of all the several different mutants that attended that school, there was only one that I recognized. I'm sure the real current diehard X-Men readers might have found some other ones, but for me, of course, I noticed right away who Dazzler was. You couldn't miss her. She's wearing all white like it's the 70s. She has a song going on while there's music notes or whatever flying around, and then she gets blasted by the Phoenix. Dazzler is fine, but that's pretty much all the hype of having her over the years led up to was just her to sing at a bonfire party. At the end, them renaming the Xavier Institute for Gifted Youngsters, to Jean Grey's Institute. Fine, cute, but she did kill a lot of people. Maybe you should have renamed it under Raven's name. After all, she was practically Xavier's sister, so that would have been nice. But no, Jean Grey, because the school is located on Greymocken Lane. Maybe that's the pun they were trying to go with. I don't know. If it was me, I am the type that would actually do it just for that pun. That's pretty much all I have to say. It's not a terrible X-Men film. In fact, I've seen worse ones. The problem with this film is it played it safe. Too safe that it was boring. There was a lot of potential, and they were just afraid to pull the trigger. It's not a good film, but it's not a bad film. It's just an okay film. Those are my thoughts. I hope you take it easy. Have a good one.